Okay, folks, I want to call the Town Council Budget Workshop of March 7th, 2019 to order with a moment of silent meditation and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up is emergency management and public welfare. It's pages 31 through 32. Ron McDonald is in the house.
Yes, sir. Any questions, folks, on page 31? Looks like Ron's stipend, in case we never did fund public welfare. Right? We haven't done that. Yeah, I have to pass on, but go ahead. Good to see you, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, good to see everybody.
Any comments, Ron?
No, I think everything's pretty much remained the same, so pretty simple unless anybody has any questions.
Do you have any questions on the public welfare?
Excuse me?
I think you deserve one.
Well, it's not the year for that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
It's never the year.
I heard.
Never, ever.
Scott, do you have any questions on public welfare?
Yeah, I do. I believe that we should at least plug in $100 in that amount. And if I know the budget
What
is
amount?
Public welfare.
just $100, or I know that the person elected apparently is not going to take that, but I think we should all recruit somebody and at least have a presence, public welfare. Usually you're a resource person that the works people is an elected office in the town of Hopkinton, and to such time as that office is eliminated, I think there should be at least a token amount in that line item. I'd say $100.
And I would disagree. Thank you. We have public welfare, we have warm shelter, we have Jelly Cake, we have South County Community Action, we have Wood River Health. We have so many organizations that help people. There is no reason on good green earth to have a personal public welfare person in town. That when we already support through our budget all of those organizations I just mentioned.
So when the last time we had actually someone in that office that really
Last
did
year,
that?
well,
Was that Jen McDonald? Jen?
No, the person who really did a lot of work was that lady over in,
even
I think so,
Marjorie
too.
Rukowski.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
she did a lot
They
before all that.
pretty much are just a conduit to the social service agency.
But our police department does that too, right?
Yes.
Well, and there are,
Any
on
other
our
company,
list,
right?
on our website, there's a list of agencies that can help, and there are programs.
And churches, all the churches have.
But I think you missed the point. The Director of Public Welfare is an elected officer of the town of Hopkinton. And I think that we should put a stipend in. And I think that the office itself, until it's eliminated, should be afforded that respect. There's no reason they can't work with any social welfare agencies or...
Do we have a person who's doing this job now?
Somebody was elected and they apparently going to decline, but
Then why don't we eliminate the position?
you can't,
We have
because
to charter.
it's stipulated in the
It's
charter.
in the charter?
But when we do the charter, we can get rid of it.
But anyway, I support a token amount in that line item.
Would you ladies
$1.
consider, would you ladies consider
No.
50
Leave it
bucks?
$1.
No, I would not. No, we have been able to avoid it.
I'm just asking
$1.
cordially to accommodate Council Vice President first. $1.
That's
Jan holds it.
That's disrespectful.
Nothing is even more.
No, nothing, it just
50
says
bucks, guys?
No,
No.
I
we
tried.
pay for all these people. We pay warm shelter, we pay
No, I know
Johnny
that.
Cake,
We
we pay
don't,
River.
first of all, why don't we get the facts straight?
I am quite aware of your fact, and there are plenty of places that we no longer have, like the keeper of fences, the keeper of wakes. We no longer have those positions because they are no longer of value. And this is one position that is no longer of value.
The bottom line is, Councilor Cataldo,
is the fact that the Director of Public Welfare is an elected position, and other positions not elected. In addition to that, the Director of Public Welfare, as I say, is an elected officer of the town of Hopkinton. And whether the charter changes, it's currently, to compare those other offices is absurd.
I would support, $50 in there.
Well, Councilor Thompson's not here, so why don't we continue this debate at some other time? I think Mr. Morrow has something to say.
Depending on the outcome, I will make a donation of $50 if it can go to what Scott had said. If I'm allowed to do that.
Public Welfare Director.
Correct.
Stipend.
But there's nobody, right now, the
No,
person was
no.
elected.
They're not
For
taking
this
it, but that's
year
okay.
is not going to accept it. She has not been
So
sworn
the money
in.
just stays in there.
But it's not going to take effect until July 1st of this year.
Correct.
After it goes in.
Right.
And no one's going to be elected between now and then.
You don't know that because a lot of times you have to go out and recruit people. and
No,
talk
you
to
don't
people.
recruit. If it's an elected position, they have to be elected, and they were not elected.
If there's a vacancy in that office,
It's an appointment at that point, right?
yeah, unless somebody resigned, I mean, if you follow the election laws,
She's declining it.
if you follow the election laws of this state, it says you shall serve until another is engaged in your room. So whoever the last Director of Public Welfare in this town is continues to be the Director of Public Welfare until another person takes over. You follow the law exactly. And I don't want to debate it more. We'll wait till Councilor Thompson comes and either I'll win or I'll lose. I win sometimes, I lose sometimes. End of story. Let's
We got
continue.
$50 covered anyway from someone in the audience. So, all right. So we'll thank
So you
you.
have to put the 50 in since he's donating.
No, we don't have to, it's a moving target, so we'll kind of proceed along. Maybe still be able to suggest,
Okay.
$50 and get Joe off the hook, which would be nice. So, okay. All right, so I would support $50 or so, Scott. I know you would, so we'll see. 2-2, and Joe's offered nicely to help fund it. Okay. Page 32. Anything there, folks?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Do you think we could do IT first? Because the police chief's gonna be here for a little while.
Yeah, we can.
You want EM, oh, if you guys are
Yeah,
done with
absolutely.
EMA, we'll do that next.
Yeah,
just
that's
so
fine, sure.
You guys have to sit through all that.
No worries. Any questions on the top portion, expenses, folks? Okay, revenues, any state reimbursed revenues, any questions there? Okay. Director Strike. All right, I think that's it for EMA Public Welfare. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, then we'll go to IT, GIS, pages 18 and 19. Chris?
Hello?
Hello, Chris. All right, any questions on page 18 for GIS IT? Okay. Next, page 19, top portion, is compensation and salary. Any questions here, folks?
Yes.
Okay, Sharon.
I'm assuming that the budget for this year, 18-19, is low because you were recently hired or something?
Correct. Yeah, there was a vacancy. So you'll see that, I wanted to mention that, like the life insurance, there's a couple of line items that, and even below, that weren't spent because like training and education, there was no one here. So there's certain, but we could go over that as we go. But just as a disclaimer, we did have a vacancy in that position, so there are some things that the actuals look lower than they would be.
That was my only question.
Okay. Any questions on services?
I had a question on supplies. Can we take that down to 100? And you spent 27.
So that's,
Again,
again, that's
he's,
because he wasn't.
no one was here. I mean, he spent 258 and then 246.
So can we drop it to 300 or 250?
I mean, it's not a lot of money for an IT guy. I think he'll very easily be able to spend that, and it'll be well spent money. I mean, fixing people's computers, laptops, printers. But if we need, I mean, if, I'm not trying to
No.
shoot it down, I mean, I'm always down to, you know, find some money where we can, but, you know,
We didn't have somebody.
the 250, I know in the past that they would spend, and it was like tight, you know, he'd be trying to buy stuff and have to use it out of another line item, you know.
Okay.
So it's not a lot of money for when you start talking like a cable, a USB port or something like that, you know, the microphone cable, it's, you know, that's $70, you know. It goes quick with computer stuff.
Okay. Anything else on, anything, nothing for revenue, anything else on page 19, folks? Okay, that's it, Chris, thanks.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
CIP?
CIP, that's right, I'm sorry.
And I can kind of give you guys a little breakdown, because there's, I'll let you get there first, and then I'll kind of give you a little explanation.
Yeah, so he's requesting his office 14,600.
Right, and so what happens is, a lot of times, the smaller, so a lot of departments that have technical upgrades or requests, they kind of always fall under IT, even though they're not really for the IT department. For example, this year, we have, actually, pretty much none of them support IT. They all support other departments in the town. So we have Vision, which is the tax assessor's software. That needs to be upgraded, and I don't think they're going to support the old version. That's $5,000. I'm sure you guys have heard about that, because that's kind of a big thing throughout the state. So there's also the building and zoning inspectors. They've been having a lot of issues, so we're going to get them some tablets to do their inspections, but we're getting, with that being said, we're getting the cheapest ones available. So it's a very minuscule amount. It's like $500 for the 2 tablets for the 2 inspectors. Total, not each. So they're like $250. Then there's a new server at DPW, because apparently the server's old, very old. It's not supported anymore. It could be subject to viruses and blah, blah, blah. That's his expertise. I kind of hear his.
Expertise either, I believe you.
And then the other thing is that we have a similar situation, but with the town-wide computers. They're all outdated, so we have some hardware updates for a few people that have computers that no longer support the new Windows. And then we also have a Windows 10 update for some employees, because and he can explain better, but apparently, Chris, what Windows 7 isn't supported anymore?
As of January 2020, it will no longer receive critical updates and patches, so it becomes more susceptible to malware and bad guys doing things to your computer. So in order to keep them patched, we need to go to the latest version.
And the latest version is
Windows 10.
Windows 10.
And if you guys remember, not too long ago, we had some issues
Yeah, the police.
at the police department, and that's the last thing we want, is like a security breach. And the cost of something like that, they just become more and more prevalent every day, you know, in this world. Like, people are just constantly trying to get through your email, and we don't want that for security reasons, and it's just an issue we'd like to try to avoid. It's going to be way more costly if we have a problem than it is to update some software. That's my take on it. So all that adds up to the 14.6, and we went over those numbers, and we conservatively shopped, like I mentioned with the tablets. We're not going out and getting like iPads or anything. Like, we're going conservative. It's Hopkinton. We don't need, the Rolexes of the computer, but we want something better than like Atari. You know what I mean? So.
And they're sturdy enough to go out on the job sites. That's
Right.
all you really have to worry about, because if they break, they break. But they just have to be sturdy enough for job sites, because you're walking and dropping things.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We actually, it was Chris's idea. We actually got a cheaper tablet and upgraded the the cost savings for like a secure case,
Excellent.
because these things are probably gonna get thrown in and out of trucks, and
Oh, they are, into trucks and.
So- we thought it was worth getting a cheaper model and spending the extra money on some,
That's
a
good
case
idea.
that's gonna protect it.
No problem.
Any questions on that CIP page? Yes, sir.
One quick question. I had mentioned about the possibility for additional revenue using cell phone towers. Is that something that Chris would be able to check into, or what would be the process for
Sure.
that?
That's contractual. That's more finance.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to look into finding revenue.
Well, I had given the council some information I did when I Googled revenue from cities and towns with cell phone towers. And they're using now flagpoles. I just saw one yesterday at the DMV in Cranston at Gilligan's Island. And the company that I researched, you can put a maximum of 5 carriers into a flagpole. And a lot of cities and towns are putting them on school property, football fields, things like that. And it's basically to get additional revenue for our town. So I had mentioned the possibility, if solar doesn't work out on Stumptown Road, could we do something like that, depending on if there's service there?
Sure, yeah, I mean, if you wanna stop by, I mean, I feel like you're always in and out of the,
I can stop by.
yeah, if you wanna stop by, I'd be more than happy.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Good to see you. Police dispatch, Chief Palmer, pages 24 to 26. Yeah. Any questions on page 24, folks? Okay. Okay, page 25, compensation and salary. Any questions there?
No, the only thing I would ask the chief is, detail wages, which is 4061, what would be your estimation? Would it be about 100,000?
You're talking about cruiser and,
Yeah, I mean, it says
What
detail
line?
wage.
4061.
Yeah, because it's got one in there, I know that's put in for, this to hold us.
So,
Put it in on.
we have a little section that helps show that. If you look at the bottom, very bottom, there's a line, it might be on the next page for you guys, but it's called net detail revenue. So, and you can see how much we actually collect.
See that 54?
Okay, it's 1718 is 132,686. To date, it's, the budget's only 1819, but after the budget, 54,999. Do you expect that to go down this year?
I'll tell you, I had my secretary do the numbers for both the cruiser and the admin from March 7th to today, from 2018, and it was $131,314, and that's net.
So that's about the same as last year,
No,
which is 132, right? Last year was 132.
152 is just year to date.
No, actual for 17,
18, 19, 132?
It's offset by the expense up top of 104,000. So that's why that net line comes in handy, because you can see the actual net profit is what we're actually keeping. Because what happens is we'll we get reimbursed 100%, but we charge an admin fee and a cruiser fee. So we do make a little bit off them doing the detail, but the big majority of it is reimbursing us for the wages that are paid out. So we pay the officers on the detail. I know some of you guys, I just wanted to give everybody.
What is that people that ride around?
Yeah, well, it's like National Grid, Verizon, when they need a guy, an officer.
Telephone repair, if they're on Route 3.
Oh, I see.
Right, that's what I was trying to say.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
it.
Traffic officer.
Okay.
Yeah, so what happens is like Verizon will say, we need a guy or two guys because we're fixing a telephone pole, or whatever the situation is. The chief will arrange, puts it up, whoever takes it, we pay them through payroll, and then we bill out Verizon or whoever it may be, and we get reimbursed. They use town cruisers, the ones that are no longer able to be on front line, so they have too many miles on them. So we keep a couple of them around for detail. So we do charge them because they're using our police cruisers, and then an admin fee, we charge them on top of that. So we make some money off of it, but the lion's share is a reimbursement for the wages that we pay out payroll.
Okay, so that's, I guess, did you want to tackle, I guess, overtime, or you want to?
Well, are we back on page 25?
25.
Or are we on- okay,
Yeah, 25.
Yeah, go back to the,
Or do you,
Are you asking?
do we want to tackle that, or we
it's a
want?
good question because it hasn't really been definitively
Yeah.
decided yet. So
Okay,
maybe by the next workshop,
sorry.
or the final workshop,
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, I mean, I think the final workshop's next Wednesday. So, or it's next Monday. So I don't know if we'll even know anything by then, but,
What do you mean?
so he's asking if we should adjust the overtime for the FDA, but they haven't decided either way if we're gonna. Right, so I think it needs,
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to adjust the budget until it's determined.
Sure, we can wait, it's up to you guys.
Can't
It's up to the
we
town
just-
council.
If that's the only thing for the last workshop, can't we decide that at the end of the one on the 11th?
Yeah, absolutely, no, absolutely, we're not gonna have an extra workshop because of it, but we're just thinking time-wise, like, would it be approved by the council
Right.
prior, it probably won't even be approved prior to the last workshop. It doesn't sound like, because that's like next week.
Yeah, right.
So, do we want to go ahead and adjust the budget, increase the overtime, adjust the healthcare, and then, appropriately as if we were gonna take the lateral transfer, or do we want to leave it as is, as if we're gonna hire a new hire? That's the decision. Because, generally, we want to,
But we decided that it was going to be more, right?
A little bit
So
more.
you need to adjust it.
A little bit more.
I think so.
right, yeah, because we don't want to have a deficit because we didn't address it.
Right,
Right,
right.
right.
Yeah, so if you want to make those appropriate calculations whereby removing the family health care from the patrolman that left,
Right.
add the buyback on the lateral transfer, and then adjust the overtime based on what we anticipate.
I'll do it right
I think net it's, I think net it's like 16, I calculated 16,500 extra.
That's a good number, but it will change because of
Yeah.
payroll taxes
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all the other intricacies.
So that'll be done for the 11th?
No,
No?
should we just done for,
Well, all the arrows are pointing in that direction.
Yeah, so the next, so Brian will give an update.
this,
A
couldn't we
revised-
have done,
That's
oh yeah,
that's
the
the next
11th.
one.
Yeah,
That's
the
the next one.
11th.
The 11th.
Okay, does that sound good, Brian?
Say that
Does that
one.
sound good to adjust those for the next? for the next-
Sure, okay, yep. I mean, I could do it right now.
No,
Okay.
Okay, you know what to do. All right, anything else on services, folks? Page 25, services?
yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
On the fiscal year 17-18 actual, under dues and fees, is the 225 a typo?
I'd have to look into that, yeah.
Looks like it.
It looks like a typo to me.
2250.
Yeah, it should have been 2250.
It's very possible. I mean, I'd have to go back and I
Yeah.
can research it, but there's something not right there. I mean, it's either been charged to the wrong account.
Yeah.
And by the time we realized it, it was,
I think 2,000 goes to the Rhode Island accreditation.
It does.
also maybe we didn't pay it that year.
No, you did, but I think it's just a typo because we've been paying it all through those years.
I mean, it's technically, it can't be a typo because it's a lookup, it's a formula. So it's pulling it from our accounting system, so I didn't physically type it in. But I'll research it and see, I would think maybe it got accidentally put to a different expense account.
Okay.
But I'll research that and get back to you.
All right, anything else? Next is building and operations, any questions there? I know the heat went up. Heat went up $3,000. Probably the big reason.
The heat is oil or propane?
It's propane.
Propane.
Okay, motor fuels, any questions there? Okay, vehicle and equipment maintenance,
Yeah.
okay, page 26. Supplies and uniform maintenance,
Uniform replacement went up $1,300.
It's a contractual, when we settled the new contract, that was part of,
Okay, that's contractual. Okay.
yeah.
And didn't you say that that's the one that you only had one response
One.
for the RFP?
Oh, no, that was DPW.
Oh.
Different company. This is more of a contractual thing in the police union, and same with, you'll see in the dispatchers. They negotiate because they have police uniforms that are pretty costly, so they get stipends to replace badges or hats or whatever it may be over time as things go. So they all get $300 a piece. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, the new contract gives them, what's that? I think it's $600 a piece now.
Does a uniform go for about 600 a piece, or what's the average uniform?
I think they're all more than that, I don't know.
They get issued a full set when they first come on, and then they get the stipend. Now it went from 400 to 600, and that stipend is to go out and get new shirts, pants, sometimes their belts or their holsters go, and so that's just for upkeep.
How much do the boots cost?
I mean, they vary. Everything's got pretty expensive. The boots, probably the least you're gonna get a good pair of boots, gonna be probably about $200.
When you said they get a full set, how many uniforms do they get? Just
They get, I'm trying to remember, it's in the contract, but it's 2 pairs of summer pants, 2 pairs of winter pants, same thing with the shirts, and then it's only one of like a belt, a holster, obviously a weapon. There's probably 30 items on that list there. Yeah.
okay. Anything on the revenues? Yes, sir.
Chief, on the revenue, under the actuals, under 17-18, revenues were 382 with a net of 132, and generally it's closer to the 55,000. Can you let me know why was that year so much higher? And can we do that again?
I think that's probably better answered by Brian, but I think that's what they give back to the police department, is that correct?
I'm sorry,
17 actual annuals, excuse me,
The net.
fiscal year 17-18 actuals.
Net detail was 132, which is way higher than the 55 we normally get. And we normally get around 55,000 as a net. Is there a particular reason why that one went higher? And is there any way for us to do that again?
the income was 345.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, obviously they were really.
It was a good year, we're not sure why.
We just want to know why
Yeah,
it
they
was a
took,
good year.
we paid out 213,000 in wages, so there was just a ton of detail. And on top of that, we were able to take in 345, so that's where the net of 130. And I think we were at full staff, if I'm not mistaken, for probably the longest we've ever been. which generally, if the guys, if we have a full staff, they won't be making the overtime money, so they'll go pick up detail shifts. But if there's overtime money to be had, they'll take the overtime. So
So we just don't know why this year was particularly good.
Chief, do you have an explanation as to?
Well, we also, we were losing details to other departments, so we hired more traffic officers, because obviously we don't want to lose our revenue that's coming in here, so we added traffic officers.
That was really nice, you could do that again. Okay, thank you. I was just hoping we could go up, yeah.
With respect to the police overtime and those type of calculations, I think the agenda's already been posted for Monday night,
Yes.
so
Can't be discussed.
just a thought, I mean, you do what you want, but you might want to discuss it tonight because it's on the agenda for tonight, but not on the agenda for Monday.
Oh.
Already posted?
Had to be posted today.
Oh.
Today's what? Thursday. Yes, had to be posted today.
So you guys already said to make the adjustments for the overtime and the healthcare.
Right.
So we've kind of tackled, we made that decision, which is a big decision. So that just puts us
So we'll look
with,
at
yeah, so that,
No, you can't.
Can't, it's already been posted, the agenda, that's what Lisa's saying.
Well, I know, but I meant,
so I guess that just kind of puts us in a net decrease of 16,000 for the police department. So that would be the impact of that decision. So just keep that in mind, and I guess if there's any other discussion to be had on that, now would be the time to do it, because like Bill said, I don't think we can discuss it at the next meeting. So I guess, you know, there's an increase in, if we do make that decision, there'll be an increase in revenue coming in, hopefully, which could potentially impact, I guess, the question is, will that impact this upcoming fiscal year? And if it does, how much? You know, it's kind of hard, we don't really have history,
yeah.
and we don't know timing-wise if they don't crack a case, and we don't get paid until, sometimes you build up the hours, it sounds like, and then you get a drop.
I don't think next year we're going to get anything at all.
Okay.
I mean, that has to build up, because you have to spend the hours and.
No, so, yeah, so if we assume, if we play really conservative and not assume that anything is gonna come in,
Correct.
then we're dealing with a deficit of, or a $16,000 shortfall, or add-on to the existing budget.
And what lines would be affected?
The overtime would go up by 35.
What line number?
3060.
Oh, I see.
Yep, so we would add the 35 there for the additional overtime for back, so that's 30,000 of it is to backfill the patrol officer. And then there would also be addition, we estimate that there might potentially be a portion that won't be reimbursed by FDA, because they're, as you remember from the other night, they're gonna reimburse us until they can't, until they run out of money.
And so Brian anticipated maybe paying about 2 months of the OT from FDA, which is, I think through conversations you had at one of the chiefs.
With Chief Lacey, correct, yep.
So that is around 5,000 plus the 30 we allocated for the backfill of Sangster's role. Again, minus the healthcare and buyback for the new guy. It's net, it's about 16.5 add-on to this budget. Now, so it's not that much more. That's why I think certainly it was a stretch to do what we did Monday night. So, but you know, there's some accounts that maybe we can delve into and look at, right, Brian? To maybe look at offsetting that expense, perhaps.
So patrol overtime would be 132 instead of 96 approximately?
Brian was going to add.
Correct, I'm making the adjustment now. And what was the question, Barbara, I'm sorry?
Yeah, it would be approximately 132, because I'm adding $500. 96,000 plus 35 is 131, but
It's 131, yup, and then there'd be a,
132 adds your 500.
so I just made the adjustment in healthcare. I just get nervous sometimes that I'm doing
I
this
know
too quick, but
exactly, doing things.
usually the
Well,
next
take
day,
your time, you know,
usually the next day I double check everything and, but it looks like there's gonna be a,
So you subtracted the 22 and added that back on 2,500 for the buyback?
correct,
Buybacks,
3,500,
I thought
yeah.
police was less, no? I thought the police was different. It was mentioned in our discussions Monday night, I thought it was less. Someone mentioned
How much
2,500.
is the police buyback?
Is it less than standard buyback?
No,
It's 3,500.
Okay.
So the healthcare is 25 technically, is the way it's worked, and then if they don't do dental, it's 35. And generally people, if they don't do one, they don't do either because they can get it somewhere else. So if they don't do both, so that puts us at 35. Yeah, so you're right, it's like a net impact of like 16.
16,000. Yeah, my calculation was with a $2,500 buyback, so it's probably 17,500, somewhere around there.
yeah, 132 is up.
So it's gonna be,
132, 32, looking on your numbers.
Yeah, then I want to kind of go over with some of the stuff we talked about, Brian and I, on the restricted accounts, what we propose. You guys can see.
Because I think it's 131, 35, or 132 because of your additional, the number you added, that you mentioned.
yeah, it's $16,168 would be the impact. And then I think there's minor, there might be another $50 in there for payroll taxes
Okay.
that I'll get a firm number for you by the end.
Yeah. So that's kind of what our impact is.
So you're saying that 1,986,854 goes up by 16?
Which, what one does? You mentioned.
No, it would be buried within the healthcare line. So the healthcare insurance, and so here's the other thing, it also impacts the copay. So that's why it's not as easy of a calculation, because that 22,000 is offset slightly by their co-share of 20%. Do you follow me? So they pay 20% of the premium. So the line 4110 and 4111 would also adjust. Those are the healthcare and the co-share lines.
But for
You could-
Monday.
Yeah.
For Monday, even if you don't discuss it, Monday you'll have the numbers.
Yeah.
And we still have a meeting, or one more meeting after that.
Yeah, but I don't want to have that.
I know, but we still have the meeting after that, if we have any questions we want to discuss further. I mean, I would like you to have the right numbers.
Well, I'll have it, I mean, there's no reason, this isn't gonna be an issue. I've got it here, I'm gonna double check my numbers, so I don't, tell you guys the wrong thing, but roughly, that's what the impact's gonna be.
And based on the minuscule amount of adjustments that we've done to date.
Which is about 3,000.
Okay.
A third of a penny.
Okay, all right. And so that's already in here?
Correct. All the other changes? Yep. So as we go, everything you guys decide, I change as we go, and then I give a revised budget for the next meeting. So, for example, Monday, you guys will have a new budget that will reflect every change to date.
Okay. So we will have it, we just can't talk about that section.
Correct, yeah, I think that's what's
And
still.
that's fine, that's fine. I
mean,
I don't think there's a need.
No,
Yeah, I don't think there's a need.
yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Really?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, what they have.
I mean, I think we're overthinking it, because there's also a
That's
line,
not
we
the
always,
schedule.
yeah, well, it doesn't need to be, if you have questions, feel free.
Tackle them tonight,
Yeah,
because it's not on the agenda for the 11th.
I'm fine with the police thing.
Oh, no, right, so I want to, so what I wanted to do, I was looking at the reserve accounts, And there's some money in there, maybe we can offset this small increase with the overtime. So I'll get into that in a minute.
I think the problem is the last meeting that we had, that I know you weren't happy about, but that's the one where we really start looking at the restricted account. I know we're going to be discussing whether they want to do a warrant item on trees. There's some really big discussions coming up.
That's on this budget, that's on this thing tonight.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's always there.
It's always there. But the end is when we've changed the rates. We've changed from .97 to .96 or .98. I mean, that's
Collection
really,
rates you're talking about.
right, the collection rates, but that's the last meeting is when we actually pull and squanch as well as we can.
All right, so,
We'll just have to, I mean, it's obviously your decision, but we could do it on Monday.
You could do it on
after.
Monday, there's warrant items.
I'll be prepared to do all that
I'd rather do it Monday.
on Monday, and then, you know, after, you know, as long as we don't have the nonprofits talking for too long,
yeah.
They usually do.
So,
but we can make, you know, I'll put a list of outstanding items that we want to discuss, you know,
okay.
the tree room, you know, just as a reminder for you guys.
Yeah, I have an answer for that.
Yeah.
All right, so Sharon, what is your question? I guess I want to just make sure.
I just didn't want to have meat on Wednesday the 13th.
Oh,
I
okay.
just wanted, you don't have anything, it says if needed, you don't have anything listed, I
No,
don't think
no.
we need to
We
do that.
leave that open as a potential.
Yeah,
Um,
that was what-
Okay. So are we going to get into those accounts now to offset or you want to do that on Monday?
Well, I guess my question would be, is there any way that any of these forfeiture funds could be used to offset that 16,000?
Yeah, that's a plausible.
That's the question, and I don't,
Yeah, so.
timing,
So
yeah.
Chief, so what Brian and I were talking about is everyone, if you want to get to your reserve accounts or restricted accounts, it's the very last page on the, second to last page.
you know,
This is
and
fund balance.
I apologize, because I don't want to, you know, sneak attack the chief here,
Yeah.
because that was not my intention
No,
by any means.
we'll challenge that, Chief.
My question really was, when I was doing a little brainstorming, is there any, I'm trying to think this afternoon on how we could offset that increase of like 16,000 or even partially. And is there anything that you can think of? Is there any way we could use some forfeiture funds that we have maybe
Yeah.
in-house?
Yeah.
Or that because we know hopefully they'll be replenished once the FDA guy gets.
So the three accounts that are on this sheet, Chief, it's about, it's 29,692.
Okay.
So that's what's in there, those three accounts.
Right.
Which ones?
Yeah, so,
Under police and
yeah,
force.
so it's under special revenue funds, it's 1, 2, 3, fourth one down. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
6, 7, and 8.
and then the very last one that says 9247.
Okay.
So that adds up to 29,692. So,
So I guess
you
my
can
goal
certainly
is,
take, you know, the 16,150 from that and have no net increase,
if that's possible.
if
I
that's
don't-
possible.
I'm trying to find ways to do that.
So we don't add another 2 pennies to the mill rate.
Any overtime that's incurred, we're suspecting that maybe the last 2 months of his overtime, if he's incurring it down at FDA, yes, we can use that seizure money to pay that overtime. The only way, we are not able to use that for backfilling. So if someone called, we're running on 14 police officers, that incurs overtime. We cannot use seizure money because it's supplanting, it's not supplementing.
Okay.
Anything he does down there, we can use that.
So to that amount, we allocate, I think, about 5,000.
That's what I was gonna say, so I was just gonna say,
We can deduct.
we could do 30,000 instead of 35, because
Correct.
we can use that 5,000 for the FDA
Right.
potential overtime. We could hopefully find some forfeiture
You
funds to
guys
pay.
understand that, what we just talked about? 'Cause
So
The
which
o-
one would you
The overtime, instead of increasing it by 35, we're gonna increase
just
by
do
30. Because
Where's the 5 coming from?
the 5,000 we could potentially
From
pay
these
with
accounts.
forfeiture.
There's three accounts.
From all three accounts?
Either one, yeah,
From
yeah,
anyone?
because that'll be used for, you know, the FDA, and that can be used by, these are already
So it's the one
forfeiture.
that's 03
It's the
14.
police couple.
What about, I mean, see, the thing is, I've got to spend more time educating myself on forfeiture. Is there something like tuition,
That's
those type of
That's
things?
one of the three
Well,
they identified.
My thought pattern was here is notoriously, you know, I try and guess how many courses somebody's gonna take. I'm wondering whether I could, you know, knock that 18,000 down to 16,000. And sometimes these guys don't take the courses that they say they do, so I'm looking maybe at another $2,000 there out of the 50/90 education reimbursement.
Okay, so that gives
Are we
you
going
time.
back to, all right, so we all set with the reserve account, this, I think.
Yeah, we're still kind of finding he's kind of making some suggestions as to where we can find that
I was
money.
looking at the balance summary, so we're back to the,
Police, number 25, page 25.
So where did you say 2,000? Oh, out of education reimbursement?
Right.
Minus 2,000.
where are you here?
5090.
What pages, what page are you?
25
Okay, 5090, okay.
minus
So it'll go from 18 to 16?
Yeah. Says supplies?
No, it's education reimbursement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
59.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So that's where 2K can come from.
Okay.
That's all.
All right, that's great.
Maybe they'll lower it down. And you can do, maybe you can just turn the heat off. A couple thousand.
And unfortunately, there's not a way of determining this, but if there was overtime incurred on a, like an investigation, I'm able to use overtime seizure money for that. It's just not for backfilling, so it's kind of hard to judge to try and give that to them back, but it's something I can do.
Which one, chief?
Any kind of overtime that is an investigation, like we had, say we had a long-term investigation or a narcotic investigation, incurs overtime, say it was $2,000-3,000 or something, I can use that seizure money, it just can't be used for backfilling.
Yeah, right.
So can I make a suggestion? I think with what he's saying, I mean, realistically, I wish we had sat down. I should have thought of this earlier, and we should have sat down and talked about this, the two of us. But what he's saying basically is that there's, of that $126,000 figure that we have in overtime, a portion of that, it's not all for backfilling or for someone covering vacation or sick time. Some of that overtime is incurred because we sent a guy on a task force or for other,
Special investigations.
right, those type of things, correct? So he's saying that overtime can be paid for by forfeiture funds.
Right.
But we don't really have a number. Do you have a number of how much of that overtime we
No.
spend? I mean, is it possible that we could,
Dissect it?
yeah, I mean, right now it'd be hard to do on.
Oh, no, not right now.
But could we make the assumption that maybe $5,000 would be, I mean, is that, I don't.
That sounds kind of high, but you probably could do maybe 3.
Okay.
You know, I've never done the figures on that.
Do you have records, I guess, that indicates?
Yeah, we definitely do, just not readily available.
Oh, no, by the 11th, right, you could.
Yeah,
figure
yeah,
it out.
do you want to maybe sit down and try to come up with, but again, we go back to the issue that it's not a,
Oh,
But even if it's not on the agenda, you can have a piece of paper in there that tells us what you have done, and the numbers are all
Okay,
in.
all
So
right.
I mean, that explains it without us having to discuss it.
All right, that's fair, yeah, and then the chief and I can actually spend a little more time,
Exactly.
and that way we're not just, because I don't like, you know, I spend a lot of time in this budget, line by line, like, research
Yeah, yeah.
it, so I hate just throwing numbers out there and being like, you know, I'd rather do the research, find out how much we spend in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that
Okay,
can.
all right,
Okay, that sounds fair enough.
all right, so I think we beat that up pretty good.
And any other questions on page 25, folks?
No.
Anything on 26? Weapons, supplies, and uniform maintenance, revenues, for anything like that?
No, we went over that already.
All right, next is
Cameron.
dispatch, page
27.
27. Any questions on page 27? Is that full staff, chief? Dispatch?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Page 28, compensation and salary, any questions there? Okay, uniform, excuse me, supplies and uniform maintenance,
Going to be double,
uniform
the
maintenance.
uniform replacement.
Why did we double the uniform replacement?
That, again, that was part of the negotiations, but I guess without getting into too much detail, it was beneficial for the town for us to give them a stipend when they were trying to get a higher increase percent-wise, which grows every year, compounded. So we were like, let's give them a stipend because it's a flat increase year after year.
That doesn't count.
Right, so if they get $400 stipend, it's $400, it doesn't grow by 2%,
Doesn't count.
3% like their wages do. So it was kind of our way to counteract their negotiations and try to figure a way to give them something more, but without, it was the better of two evils.
Yep.
Fine. All right.
All right, supplies and uniform maintenance, no other questions there? Okay. All right. I guess, do we want to go over animal control? I guess without, is the young lady going to be here, you think, or should we wait?
I didn't have her come.
Oh, okay. She's fairly new, so.
Yeah, right, she's learning.
Okay, any questions on page 29?
No.
Okay. Page 30, folks, compensation and salary?
I do have one thing to add on that. So the cleaning allowance line, that's 400, it needs to be 300. I picked up on that today.
With uniform cleaning?
Yep,
The line
so
number
it's gonna deep,
You have 200.
all right, but you're, oh, wait a second.
Says 200. We need to increase it to 3?
Yes, oh God, I'm sorry, I thought it was going the other way.
Okay, that's all right.
Contractually, I didn't update it from your version of the budget, and I realized that I updated the dispatchers for the new union contract, but I didn't she's part of that union, so contractually, we pay her 300 like we do the dispatchers, and
So it's
Add
300.
100 to it.
it was an oversight on my part, I apologize.
No worries.
That's fine.
All right. And next, supplies, maintenance, and operations. Any questions
Yeah,
there?
I do. Feed and bedding, 5120, and 5300 repairs and maintenance. We don't have anything down. And obviously, she's starting this thing up again. Won't we need feed and bedding, or did she already have it?
Yeah, we did make I guess when Bill and I sat down and did the budget, it wasn't really decided either way. So we kind of hedged our bets. We didn't really want to put money in there. It was still kind of indecisive as to whether it was going to be reopened or not. So
So I think we need
it looks like we're starting to lean a little bit towards that. So now, the bedding and feeding, I think we could,
1,500.
we should probably put something in there. But the other line items, I think we could cover. We have
You can cover repairs and maintenance?
I think we could have DPW at least.
Okay.
They have a supply and maintenance town-wide, so we could, for $250, we'll have them cover that type of expense
Sure.
out of their line item. But I think bedding and feeding, I think now that we've gone in that direction, open it back up, I think we might want to put something in.
Can we put 1,200 in instead of 15? Well, I mean, we used 15, but they've only used 1,013, 27.
Yeah, they want- let's say just- yeah, so-
15?
Let's do, want to do 1,500, guys?
Sure.
Okay. Does that sound okay, Brian?
Yeah.
Chief?
Yeah.
Something.
And then there's also a discussion about the training, because we have two new, we've hired a full-time and a part-time. So the only thing I would say about that is that there's there's training, the chief brought up to me that there's training that they need to go through. They're completing one now, and eventually they're gonna have to do module B. But there's a donation account that I think we could absorb that from. That's my goal, just to kind of avoid having
How much
to
is in
add.
there?
It's on your list, I think it's like 2,500.
Oh, okay.
I think you-
So, but that kind of covers anything that, instead of having to increase the budget this year,
Good.
we'll use what's in there.
In the donation, right?
Right.
And it's valuable, I think, to train the main person and then just wait for a year, for half a year to train the other one to do your
Yeah,
budget.
but she has to cover for her, so that's, well,
I
anyway,
mean,
we got
that
the money
training's
in that.
minor. I mean,
We got the money in that donation anyway, so.
So I'd leave it at
Sounds good, Ken.
25.
Any other questions on supplies, maintenance, and operations? Okay. Questions on the revenue, okay, that's it for page 30. I think that's it. Is that it? Then we got CIP.
For anything? Or please?
Please, right. Did we talk about CIP yet? So we're on the CIP.
Yep,
please.
I'm with you.
Page
So,
7, yep.
so right now, just to give you guys a quick run through, the chief was trying to get 2 new frontline cruisers. We understand it, we were understanding in the fact that we had some high mileage on some of the frontline cruisers. And a kind of a compromise was, you know, instead of getting 2 SUVs, let's get 2 sedans because they're more affordable. So we were able to get a pretty good price on it, and they're roughly about like $33,500 a piece when they're outfitted with all the bells and whistles that are needed, you know, lights and decals and everything else. So we were able to go to, I got a quote, and in the current, we'd spread it over 3 years. Municipal leasing company gave us, they usually have the best rates.
Yeah.
They were gonna give us a quote, and I was estimating a little over 2,300, it's like 23,163. Plus we have the last payment of the FY18 cruisers that we purchased in FY18. So we have the last payment of that, 3-year lease, plus the first payment of this, so it gets us to 51. We had a little bit of a reserve in that account, so I've used that up, so that instead of having to use the 51,000, or basically fund 51,000, we're only gonna fund 41,000. So I was able to
Okay.
take a little bit from a reserve account to, you know, to decrease.
Offset the total expense, right?
Yeah, and that was, I looked back on that, it was because what happens is generally, I'll give you the quickest version possible. Generally, we get quotes on this stuff for the CIPs, and then we actually go out and get the vehicle. So a company gives us a quote in February, right? And then it's July by the time we go and get it. So it's really an estimate, and we don't want to under budget. So if we think a cruise is going to cost us 35, maybe we put in 36 or 37, right? And they'll give us a conservative quote knowing that their rate's probably going to go up. So we had a similar situation when that happened. In FY18 and 19, we funded the roof replacement, and we did $40,000 for that. And it ended up, we got a really good price when the RFP came back. It was $34,000. So we had a net of $6,000 in this account. You know, so that happens from time to time, and we were able to use some of that
Extra.
overage to offset the cost of the 2 cruisers this year.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah, so 41,297 is used, that's what the CIP is for the
Yeah.
replacement.
Very good. Yep.
Okay. All right, any questions on the CIP, any clarification questions, anything? Okay. I think that's it, right? Jim?
Yeah, just
Yes,
one question. Are we okay on the MOA?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a general consent.
Yeah.
So,
see, what do we have next?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you,
Thank you,
appreciate it.
We can go over education, though. We all know that.
Yeah. I'm good with what you're gonna say.
There's nothing to say.
Oh, I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, there's nothing to do about it.
You probably don't want to hear it.
Yeah, we're all.
Um, We are gonna do Bill 41 to 42.
You want to do finance first?
Yeah, we can do you, yeah. Pages 14.
Or we could do education, there's really nothing on
No,
education, right?
I was thinking, so let's just bring up the, I won't say it, it'd be nice.
I guess.
Yeah, Brian's 14 and 15. Okay, page 14, with the base rates and all that good stuff.
I don't know.
Okay,
I want to know what the stipend was for 14 and 20.
that's the cell phone. Cell phone stuff. Okay, next page 15, top portion, compensation and salary. Any questions there, putting on finance? Okay. Next is services. Any-
Contract services, 50/60. Brian,
Yep.
53, you spent about 12, 185, 11, basically 12, and you're on track to spend 12 again. And 15, 13, go down to 12?
Yeah, so the contract services under my department, I watch with a very,
Entry code, yeah.
so what it is there's a time and attendance module that we're gonna implement. This was an annual goal from last year, so we haven't had the time or the resources to do it because of all the contract negotiations and everything else, the workload, didn't really give me time to address that, but, so there was, once we add that module, so basically, and we talked about this last year when we increased the budget for it, that Paychex offers a time and attendance, which has kind of been a mess. What it does is it's going to allow the department heads, right now what we do is, the way it's done very obsolete way, is we email the department heads, get an Excel spreadsheet, and they email it, and then Chris sits there and manually inputs every timesheet into the payroll system. This new module will allow the department heads to actually log in to Paychex, update the timesheets for their department, and then upload it, and then we'll get it instead of waiting for an email to come in with the attachment and then have it. It's just a lot of error that can happen
Yeah, sure.
when you're dealing with various spreadsheets coming in and then him having to manually input time. This way, it comes in, it's going to be approved through the payroll system.
Has that been installed yet, did you say?
It hasn't. I haven't had time.
Oh, no, that's fine.
They constantly call me because I've already.
Will they help you with training? I guess?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's the other thing. It's going to take all the department heads, they're going to go around to all the department heads and train them.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of an undertaking, and I've been trying to I didn't want to start it until I had the time to see it through, because there's definitely
You
going
have
to.
to oversee it.
Right.
You're going to have to oversee every
Right.
department.
And usually my goal is usually in the summertime, once the budget slows down, like after March, those next 2 or 3 months are really like, I say downtime lightly, but that's when things are like the least hectic because the audit's done. Audit's usually like October through December, and then the budget picks up and it's like January through March. So then our time to really do these type of projects is in the summer. So that's my goal, is to implement that time and attendance. So to answer your question, I have a breakdown of all the contract services. Paychex costs us about $14,100. That includes the time and attendance, our regular payroll, the Affordable Care Act reporting, with the federal government, and then W-2s and those type of things, that they handle that for us. So that's 14,100. We have Conica,
Copiers and all that.
yeah, our copiers, which we cover the cost for planning as well. So it's both departments are in our budget. So that's around 500. Then we also cover the cost of Wesley Sun and Chariho Times, which is shared for the whole town. So, you know, we read them and then we bring them over here for the town hall. And then also just the water for their house. So I crunched those numbers pretty tightly.
Pretty
And,
close, yeah.
the only reason it's not gonna be on par is because I haven't implemented, I had the whole year to pay for time and attendance and we haven't implemented.
That's fine, that's exactly, that makes all the sense in the world.
Okay. Any other questions on page 15, folks? Okay.
Thank you,
All right, so Brian's done.
Brian.
Okay, Tom,
Page 41.
41 and 42. Okay. Any questions on page 41? Okay. Page 42, compensation and salary.
What is the stipend?
3,500.
What is it?
Oh,
Oh,
so
it's not there, but what is it?
Where are you, Sean? Where are you?
Line 4,000,
it's,
manager's comp time stipend, what is that?
So there was an agreement, I mean, everybody can, anyone, I feel like I'm doing all the talking, but there was an agreement with Bill because his comp time for going to all the meetings was astronomical. So the council and Bill decided that he had to be compensated for his accrued comp time, which got pretty excessive for all the meetings he goes
We
to.
paid it out over 3 years, right?
So it was, so the council decided that they wanted to pay it out over 3 years, so they compensated him for his comp time, which I think will legally have to, because,
That's what's accrued time.
but it's now complete.
it's complete.
Yeah.
Yep, so it's going away.
Yep.
So he got his payout over 3 years, yep.
Okay, any questions further on compensation and salary? All right. Supplies, maintenance, and operations, anything there? Okay, I think that's it for Bill.
Do we have a service CIP for finance?
Debt service, better?
I don't-
That's debt
Yeah,
service.
because we did.
We did fine, yes, we'll do that. We'll look at that. Okay, so that's it for Bill. I guess the only other thing we'll look at maybe is I guess debt service and education.
Where's that service?
It's in the CIP.
There's no CIP for me.
No, debt service.
Debt service?
That's in the budget, it's not in the debt
Oh,
service.
I mean, it's not a CIP, okay.
It's
Don't they have a spreadsheet though of all the,
it's in the operating budget,
okay,
Yeah.
what page?
not the CIP budget.
Yeah,
So,
I
do you
didn't
have,
have a chance to,
I'm just looking at a spreadsheet, so,
It's 16, 17.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay.
There's not too much to discuss here other than the new land trust, because everything basically comes off of their debt schedule, you know, from the amortization of our bond. So it's just pulling numbers from our bond statements. So it's all, you know, it is what it is. It changes a little bit from year to year, but that's all determined when the bond is,
I have a question. What is the interest rate on the road construction bond?
on the road construction bond, so the one that we did back in 2017,
Yeah, the 10-year, 1.5 million.
that is 2.06.
2.06, and the road construction, 253 from the Clean Water Finance. What's the interest on that?
That is 2.22.
2.22. And the police station will be finished in like 4 years, which is pretty good.
Usually have the date on there, Brian, right?
The police station, we refinanced.
Yeah, 2023.
We refinanced when we did the road because it was a higher rate So we refinanced it when we got the bond, the $1.5 million road reconstruction bond. We were like, well, why don't we refinance this and get a lower rate on it since rates were so low? So we were able to get
4
the,
years left on that. 4 years left?
On previous,
Yeah.
That was good. Is the road bond, are they both 10-year? Do you have two of them, or did you roll the 2.06 and the 2.22? We don't have two, we have a 1.5 million and a 2.53 million, a 2.53 thousand.
correct, yep, the 2.5.
Are they both 10-year?
Yes, the 200, oh, well, let me just double check that, hold on a second. I think I spoke too quickly. So you want to know that,
The first one, the 1.5, you say it's a 10-year, and I just wondered what the 253K was.
they're,
Oh,
yeah, so when we did the road reconstruction bond, we also did a Palmer Circle, a loan to redo Palmer Circle, if you remember that.
Yep.
So let's see, final. Yeah, I'm pretty positive, I just didn't want to misspeak, that it was 10 years.
Yeah, I would think so for 2.53.
It is, it's 10 years, yep.
Yeah, okay. So they're both 10-year bonds.
Yep, both the road bonds are 10 years.
So,
And-
go ahead.
Oh, and we did those in 2017,
2015,
2016,
yep, the street light was,
2017.
yeah, correct.
Okay. And that's a 10.
So the only new item to speak of really on page 17, the debt services, is the land trust, the 2 million, which is 61,420.
Yeah.
That's pretty much-
Yep. And as you
And then-
know,
and- Yeah, maybe let the folks know.
Yes, so
It's just interest, it's not
Right.
principal and interest stuff. So
I
that'll hit next year.
knew that the budget was not looking good after dealing with the Charahoe. Once we saw the numbers from Charahoe, I knew we had to go to bond, so I talked with our financial advisor, and I was like, explain the situation, I was like, well, you know, we got talking, and he said that, he's like, well, we could do a bond and not pay principal in year one, so that this current budget, we don't have to pay, it's $110,000 of principal. So I was like, well, that would at least get us through this year, and hopefully we have more favorable enrollment numbers next year. But this bond that we are getting, there's, basically you take that 110,000, you spread it over the next 9 years. Actually, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it a 20-year bond?
Actually, I was just gonna say, I think the land trust bond's longer.
Yeah, the 20-year bond
It's- yeah.
land trust.
Right, so it doesn't really have an impact, a huge impact on the out years because it's spread over so many years, but it gets us out of this year without having to add $110,000 additional to this budget for the principal payment. Does that make sense to everyone?
Makes sense to me.
And that 110 is going to be spread out over 10 years.
No, I think it's 20. Let me just double check. I think,
But we're gonna make up
No,
for the.
no, I'm sorry, it's
last
15, it's 15.
Principal, you understand?
I do.
Okay.
It's a 15-year
Next
bond.
year, we're gonna get,
110
Yeah.
additional.
right,
Right. No, I am quite aware.
okay. Trying to get that right now.
That's just the principal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just,
Plus-
this figure here is interest.
Yeah, so you add that to
61,410.
110.
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking about 170 a year.
Correct. 107.
Over 15 years. It's 15 years for the land trust. We did 20 the last time, but
Oh, this time is 15?
it's gonna be 15, yeah, because
Great.
the, we're going,
Less
we was
interest.
doing a public offering, and our financial advisor said that we won't get any bids if we do 20. They said people,
Mhm.
because in the bond world, like $2 million is not a lot. I mean, to us,
Right.
it's a
So we're
large.
doing the 15-year when we do the full 2 million land trust. Great, great. And
Yep.
I'd rather do shorter if we could, somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a chunk.
Yeah, the shorter is more money.
I know. But it's a chunk.
Fine if we have the money, I guess, to do it, it'd be a good thing in theory.
Yeah, it is.
All right. That's it for debt service, I think.
Yep.
Any other questions, folks, council, on this stuff? Anything from Bill and Brian?
Good.
Scott?
No. I'm waiting for Monday night.
Oh,
I'll let you guess why.
oh, jeez, all right.
I
Do I have to bring my towel
About
and my
this
boxing
tree.
gloves?
The dangerous tree list,
Yeah.
is that,
It's Monday night.
Yeah, so there's,
there's no price,
well, it's about $7.50 a tree. There's 97 on there, so that's, what's that, 75, 79,000 for each.
Okay, well,
97
not anything in addition.
So that's the price, Sharon. Yeah, this is, so,
times 250?
no, 750 times 97. So
Okay.
72,000 is what this list comprises of.
So it's
Cost
92 trees,
97.
97 trees.
That's 750 a tree.
Times
Is 90,
It's 72,750.
72,750.
So this is the emergency trees, and, you know, obviously,
Wow.
but again, we don't,
That's right, because he said the
anything
word
we add to
thousand.
the budget, right? Well, yeah, right, so- but they dissected, there's gonna be, you had concern about emergency, so did Sylvia, so they dissected the list and they found 100 of them that were of dire need of
You get anything
But it's-
over here, you're free.
So I have a solution for it.
So we were in the freezer to explode,
Maybe
man.
we can go in it now, it's a fault that Brian pointed out. So it's not gonna cover it all, but where is it? There's an item here under the fund balance summaries. It's the second item, off-site improvements. There's 51,065. So, you know, we can use that to, this is that summary page got way in the back. So it'll get most of them, right? Get most of it done, at least the emergency ones, so, you know. And then we can hopefully have a, I don't know, we'll have to see. It won't get everything done, but.
So what, have a fundraiser?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Do some of that.
DPW, yeah, would know, I guess, about that. But anyway, so that's a spot you can grab
At least.
to
we
help
can-
out with.
Yeah, at least we can start.
Right, right.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Oh, excellent.
yeah, that was Brian's, and we chatted about it.
That's great. Thanks, Brian. That works.
Yeah, we're talking about the 97 trees. and
Yeah, I'm trying to think out of the box and find some money, and I've done some research on it, and I keep hitting like dead ends.
Well,
So
you had mentioned to me the offsite,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
the
money
offsite
in,
improvements. It's
right,
got $51,065.
right, and I'm trying to figure out what the guidelines are for what we have to spend that money for, because when those funds are set up, there's usually, and I'm pretty sure it's probably in the charter or an ordinance that governs it, but I couldn't find it. So I talked to Lisa, she was helping me with it. Do you remember? It was like a month ago, and we couldn't quite.
Sure, it's somewhere,
It's a
right?
great
So I'm
idea,
sure we'll
and it's
figure out
certainly
somewhere.
off-site.
Yeah, we couldn't really find it. I kept like swinging and missing, but
But
it might be a
it's-
stretch because I think it might have to go towards a specific development if I remember correctly. But no one's able to tell me. We're not able to find information definitively on
You
what.
know the year that it got put in that?
Not off the top of my head. I did pull. You know, Lisa's office helped me. They found some good information. I had a couple things in my files, but I couldn't really see anywhere where it was spelled out that this fee that's collected for new construction homes, so it's impact fee and offsite.
Impact fee.
There's impact fee and then
That's a
there's
simple one, too.
there's offsite
Yeah.
improvement.
That
So the
That
two
doesn't really
fees,
bother
We use that as a
No, I
warrant
mean,
item.
there's an impact fee ordinance.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
this
know
is-
the offsite improvement.
that's what I'm saying, that it's confusing. The impact fee we're very clear
Right,
on.
right.
But the offsite improvements is another fee they collect on new dwellings. And we can't really figure out, you know, I called building and zoning, and we're trying to work through it and figure out what the stipulations are to spend that money. And I was just trying to think outside the box, I was like, maybe we could use this.
I mean, I think it's possible, do we have to put that in then as a warrant item, that we're going to take 51,000 from the off-site improvements in order to take the trees down? Do we have to do that, or do we just put it in the budget?
Well, I think that's a possibility. I think the first step would be to
You
find,
know, whether it's restricted in some way.
right, what the restrictions are for that money.
Right.
Because I think that's the bottom line, if what we can spend it on, And if that, it might be a little bit of a stretch,
But it's
but
also health and safety. I mean, it's a
Oh,
really strong health and
I
safety.
mean, if we need to make up an excuse, we could certainly do that, but anyway.
Well, it's a-
yeah, if there's a way around it, we'll try to figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, so maybe do a little more research and we'll, I guess we can chat about it on the 11th, or is that?
Have you talked to the solicitor at all about that?
That would be the next step, you know, once I get some good information, I would definitely bring it to him
That was always on.
to try to
Okay, yeah.
research, you know, make sure that we're doing something that's well within our, you know, something that's allowable.
What is the authority for a company? Is it an ordinance?
I don't know, I honestly don't know, I looked in the town charter, I looked, you know, I looked through the ordinance.
What are those numbers after the entry? Like, it's 02-014. Does that signify anything?
The account number.
That's the account number, it says?
Yeah, yep,
Oh,
How does
Yeah.
the money get there?
well, that's the thing, it gets collected,
Through building and zoning?
building and zoning, when they collect the impact fee on new dwellings, I believe they also collected this
Off-site improvement.
off-site improvement fee.
alright.
So from time to time, so for the impact fee, I just know because I see the revenue coming in, the impact fee from time to time will get $1,500 and change roughly. On a new dwelling, that's what a resident will pay. It's like 900 and change that they pay for this off-site improvement fee. So it comes in through building and zoning as revenue, but I don't know
She's gotta have.
the intent for the funds, and if there's any possibility that we could use that for the tree.
Sherry's gotta have records of something, she's been there 16 years, right? I mean, it's gotta be something.
Yeah, it's just been around for a long time.
There's got to be some in the town, regular town record system was set up like that.
Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sherry's gotta know too.
Is there something in the impact fee ordinance that refers to this?
Yeah, so anyway, it's something, hang on, hang on.
to it,
Yeah.
a month ago, and I didn't see it. And I'll definitely double check, and if you wanna maybe
And it's not
look in
long.
your records.
Yeah, I'll check.
I think between the three of us, we should be able to come up with some good information.
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't wanna get everyone's hopes
No,
up,
because
because
it's,
if I remember, for some reason, when I started, I thought someone had told me that it was for a specific development. There was a large development that was put in, and it was supposed to be to maintain this specific development. So I don't want to get everyone excited, but I'm just trying to think outside the box and find some way to fund some of these projects that we don't have the money for this year.
wouldn't be drainage culverts or anything like that, I wouldn't know.
I think that might be,
But if all the houses have a $900 fee, then it would be development all over the place, which means it's the entire town line, which would be nice.
Well, it's something to look into, certainly.
yeah, I'm looking into it. I didn't want to speculate and get everyone too excited, but it's a possibility.
All right, any other questions, concerns from the council, folks?
I didn't want to mention it, except
So, just a point of order for the next
Well, you better have come up with a pretty good answer now.
No problem.
Is that what we'll be, that's when we'll be looking at the medical center thing?
Well, then, yeah.
Yeah, we'll refer to
Okay.
it. Well, we didn't really save any money, so how can we think of giving them an extra fund?
Oh, no, they just request it, and then we can say yes or no. We can level fund it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a great organization, we'll just have to see.
Just have to see if we can do something.
I think everybody asked for a little bit more. The library, which has that, it's a back. The ambulance always asks for 2,000 more each. So that's really what Scott's ready to approve.
How do you know?
All right, he has their set fee.
Yeah, I guess.
Set fee.
Motion to